Hi, I'm Christy Rost. I've always loved soups, and one of my favorites is creamy, thick tortilla soup, topped with crunchy tortilla strips, a dollop of sour cream, and chopped avocado. Tortilla soup is a feast for the senses. Welcome to At Home with Christy Rost. I've preheated my stock pot and I'm going to add a little bit of canola oil to this, about a tablespoon, and some chopped onion. This is sweet onion. And I'm going to saute that for just a couple minutes until it begins to soften. Once the onion is soft, then I add in chopped garlic. I have 2 or 3 cloves here. I like nice big cloves, and I like garlic, so it's probably 3. I saute this just until the garlic becomes fragrant and softens just a little, so it'll be about 30 seconds. You don't want it to burn. And then I add in chopped tomatoes. These are fresh tomatoes. I have 2 very large fresh tomatoes from Palisade, Colorado. I get these from my favorite spot in Palisade, which is on the far western part of the state of Colorado. It's called Forte Farms, and they have the best tomatoes and the best peaches, I think, in all of Colorado. So these were actually field tomatoes, which means they're grown out there in the field. They're not a hothouse kind of tomato. I'll turn up my heat a little bit now. And you're going to cook the tomatoes for about 5 minutes until they soften. And then we'll stir in some canned tomatoes as well. So I'm going to take just a break and let these cook, and then we'll come right back. So the fresh tomatoes have now softened beautifully, which also allows the onion to soften a little more. And I'm adding in a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Now, I've tried the crushed tomatoes that are fire roasted, and I'll be honest, I wasn't as pleased with the flavor of the soup when I did that. It just came off as being a little too acidic. So your choice, but I'm letting you know my thoughts on that. So we'll let this cook for just a moment. I'm going to add in some chicken broth as well. You could use vegetable broth if you prefer, and that would be just fine. So I have about 4 cups there. Stir this in, and while this continues to heat, I'm going to chop up my hatch chiles. So during hatch chile season, which is late August into September really, you find them in just about all the markets. Last year, I put a bunch of them on the grill and I blackened them so that I could remove the skin, but I just left them with the skin on, stuck them in a plastic bag, and stuck them in the freezer. So I have them whenever I want them. So when it's hatch chile season, which by the time this airs, I'm sorry, you have missed it. But it's a good time to go ahead and roast some all at one time and stick them in the freezer, and then you have them for whatever you need. There, so I just chopped this up a little bit. It doesn't have to be real fine because we are going to puree this soup in a little while. I'm going to add in with the seeds because I want the heat. Remember, for many chiles, the seeds that really have a lot of the heat. So I'll just put these in here. I'm going to add, oh, I missed one. I'm going to add a bay leaf and about 1 3/4 teaspoon of cumin. Stir this real well. Beautiful. and let this continue to cook. Now, I also have a guajillo pepper, and I'm going to remove the stem. Ooh, and look at all the seeds, nice. And use a little food processor here. I'm going to throw the seeds back in and just break up this guajillo pepper to give it a head start. And so you do this while the soup is coming to a boil and all the flavors are starting to meld. Now, this is going to be pretty loud, so I'm going to kind of step to the side while this does its thing. And here we go. I want to grind it up as much as I can into a powder. Turn this a little more so you can see it. Ooh, that's pretty. Perfect. So, just remove this and add this to the soup. And this is going to give flavor and a little bit of heat in the back of the throat. And that's what you really want in a tortilla soup. We need to have a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat. At this point, I can set that aside, put on the lid, bring it up to a boil, and then simmer it for about 10 or 15 minutes. So while that's happening, I'm going to make some tortilla strips and make them nice and crisp to go with the soup. So I have another skillet here. This is the Viking Hybrid Plus. And just heat that up and add a little canola oil to this. Let that heat. So if you take corn tortillas like this, the way I do it is I take a pair of kitchen shears and I cut mine in half, like this. And then, and you can use a knife if you like, but I find shears just work so easily. And I just cut them like this into strips. And you can make them super long, you can make them shorter. I'm doing mine shorter. I actually have a combination of both. I have long and short ones. Just like this. By the time I finish this, the oil will be hot. And you can check with your hand like that, and if it feels hot, then you know it's ready. The other thing you can do is you can take the end of one and stick it in the oil and see if it sizzles. And if it doesn't sizzle, it's not quite ready. That one's not quite ready. So I'll go ahead and do the other. I also poached some chicken breast. And then we shredded it. So I just take mine and just kind of pull. You can use 2 forks if you want, but I like mine a little bigger pieces, so I tend to just shred with my fingers. And that seems to work pretty well. I still remember the first time I had tortilla soup. We were living in Houston at the time, and there was this fabulous hotel in Houston, kind of near the Galleria, if you're familiar with that area. I don't know if the restaurant's still there. And we went there, and it was all Tex-Mex, but it was real high-end. And they had tortilla soup, creamy tortilla soup, like we're making, on the menu. And I thought, I've never really had that. I think I'll try that. Oh my gosh, it was like an elixir. It was so fabulous. See, listen to the sizzle. So just stick these in here. This is only going to take a few moments. I'm just toasting them, making them crisp. Pretty. I'll just let that sit for a few moments and while I clean up. And then have some paper towel ready. So when you pull the tortilla strips out of the pan, you have a place to drain them to absorb the oil. Let's check this again. Ooh, and see, they even get a little bit brown. Oh, this is perfect. I love this. You know, when you have a little bit of brown on there, you're increasing your flavor too. It could also be a sign that you forgot they were in the pan doing this. They're almost ready. So let's check the soup real quickly. Ooh, pretty. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So this is coming to a boil. And we would let this cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to get these all crisp, and then I'll pull them out. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to puree the soup because it'll be ready. And the tortilla strips should be nice and crisp.
It was one of those peak moments in life.
The olive oil and caviar tasting was life-changing.
Our guests can go ashore and immerse themselves in some of these little out-of-the-way places.
Atlas spoiled us.
Yeah, they did.
The soup has been simmering for about 20 minutes. The tortilla strips are nice and crisp, and now I'm going to puree the soup. So I'm using an immersion blender because I'm going to puree and get this all nice and smooth. It helps to take out the bay leaf first, so let's do that. Otherwise we have pureed bay leaf. That would not be good. That's why this show is called At Home with Christy Rost. You're never totally sure exactly what's going to happen. So this takes a few minutes. You could also use a food processor, a Vitamix, or a blender to do this, but I would caution you, if you decide to do that, you need to let the soup go to lukewarm before you put it into a container and puree, because the heat will build up pressure and it will explode and you will get burnt. So make sure if you're not using an immersion blender that you are letting the soup cool off before you process it. Unfortunately, that did happen to my niece one time, and it was pretty bad. So don't go there. So I'm going to take a few minutes to do this to get this soup really smooth, and we'll be right back. So the soup is pureed. I added about a half teaspoon of salt, and I tasted it and realized it needs just a little more salt. So I'm going to put in a total of about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and that's the Salt Seasons Himalayan Pink. And I'll give it a quick stir. And this is ready to serve. And I will tell you, let me taste it one more time, just in case I need another pinch. Whoa, that's good. Oh, that's good. And that extra salt was just perfect. So the way I do this is I take some of the shredded chicken and I put it in the bottom. Now, if you're vegetarian, skip the chicken and use vegetarian broth instead of chicken broth or stock. Put that in the bottom of your bowl as much as you like. Then, got this beautiful soup ladle. Brabantia, which is from Sweden, makes wonderful collections of stainless steel kitchen utensils, and I happen to love this ladle. So I spoon this right over the chicken, as much soup as you want. Put that here, do the other one. And I will tell you right now, my film crew, I have 3 cameras, 3 wonderful people who are my film crew, and they are smiling. They're waiting for this soup. Then, let's put some of these little toasted tortilla strips. So you're going to get the beautiful soup puree, you're going to get the chewiness of the chicken at the bottom, and you're going to get the crunch of the tortilla strips, all in one soup. Going to add some sour cream right on top of that. And there's no particular order. You can put whatever you like in first on this, whether it's tortilla strips or sour cream or whatever you want to do. And some fresh avocado that I have chopped up so that it's in nice little cubes. And see, then you're also adding the coolness and creaminess of the avocado. Now that's what I call a great soup. Thick and creamy tortilla soup. When we come back, I have more treats for you for this Tex-Mex Fiesta. It's not really a Tex-Mex meal if there isn't guacamole included. So I'm going to make some guac for you right now. I have one avocado already in the bowl, and I'm just going to open this other one. There we go. And I like to score mine a little bit. This one we left whole. This one I'm going to score. And remove the pit. There we go. Get that out. Always be careful when you do that. And I'll score this one a little bit too, not through the skin, just lightly through the pulp. And just cross it that way. Then I take a spoon, add it to the bowl here. Just pull that right out. That's yummy to do this for a salad. See how quick that is? Okay, and the other one. Yum. Okay, then I'm going to take a fork and just mash the avocado. I'm not going to do it super smooth, but you may like yours that way, and that's good. I like mine with just a little bit of chunkiness still, so I can still see little bits of the actual avocado fruit without having it totally almost emulsified in the bowl. This is really nice one. It's so beautifully ripe. For some reason, this particular kitchen is really good for ripening avocados. I have never quite figured out why, but they ripen better here than they do in my everyday kitchen. All right, so I still have pieces of avocado there. I like to add in some onion. So this is sweet onion that's been minced. And I like a little bit of cilantro. So put that in there. And some fresh lime juice. So I'll move this bowl so you can see. Put these here. It always helps if you kind of clean up your board as you're working. And then I'll cut my lime in half and use a reamer to add some beautiful fresh lime juice to this. Salt and pepper. Some salt, just kind of put it in there, however much you like. Some freshly ground pepper. Now I will tell you at this point, my husband Randy always adds a spoonful of salsa to it, prepared salsa. He just likes that. So then you get little tiny red specks through, and it's actually quite good, but that's not how I'm making mine. He doesn't put onion in his either, but I really like that little bit of crunch. So I've got this ready. Put it in this pretty bowl. Beautiful. Ooh, the perfect amount. And take a chip and stick it right in there like that. And that way they can't tell when I take another chip out of the back. Oh yeah. What do you need with this? A margarita. That's up next. Cosmic Crisp apples are a cross between Enterprise and Honeycrisp varieties, which makes this non-GMO apple extra juicy and beautifully crisp. Sweet and naturally slow to brown, I love them for snacking, baking, cooking, salads, and charcuterie boards. I'm proud to have Cosmic Crisp as a sponsor of At Home with Christy Rost. So I promised you a margarita, and I am going to make you one, but I'm going to add a bit of sparkle to it by using my drink mate. So I open this up, and let's get all the ingredients going. So I have some agave tequila here, and I always use a 2-to-1 ratio when I make my margaritas. So I have, there's one. Oh, we're gonna make enough for maybe a real party. So I'm gonna do a second one. So this is going to be the 2. And that's your favorite tequila, okay? And then I like Cointreau or Grand Marnier, but I prefer Cointreau for margaritas. So this will be just 1 of the Cointreau. So this is an orange flavored liqueur. And pour that in. And I have the juice of 1 lime, and I'm going to pour that in. And then I add about 1 ounce of simple syrup. And if you like it sweet, then add a little extra. And simple syrup is, I make it 1 cup of water with 1 cup of granulated sugar, put that in a saucepan and heat it up until the sugar melts, stirring occasionally. Then just insert the drink mate and fold it in and press. Short bursts. And when you hear that release of pressure, you know it's ready. So I wait until it's pretty much done with the release of that pressure, and then I take it out. Then shake. Okay. Then I'm going to release the pressure right here. And again, kind of short bursts. And it's ready, and you can really see the effervescence here. Do you see that? Look, it's just sparkling like crazy. Okay, so let's fix the glass. So I have a little bit of a lime wedge here, and I'm going to take it just around the rim of my glass. And I have a plate of coarse salt, and I dip the edge of the glass in. And you can skip this part if you don't like salt on your margarita. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I'll move this out of the way. And then open this and pour it into the glass. And look at the fizz. Oh, I love this. It is a sparkling classic margarita. Oh wow, I only made enough for me. Oh. If my boys see this episode, they'll say, yeah. And add a lime wedge, and you're all set. The sparkling classic margarita. Thanks for joining me today for a Tex-Mex Fiesta on At Home with Christy Rost, where great food, beautiful wines, and hospitality are a tradition. Please connect with me on my Instagram and Facebook pages, and you'll find today's recipes on my ChristyRost.com website. Special thanks to our friends at Melissa's Produce and also DrinkMate. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Atlas Ocean Voyages, Cosmic Crisp Apples, Michael David Winery, Tavolo, Viking Culinary Cookware, Water and Wines Puzzles, Little Bear Honey, Salt Seasons, and Tip Tech. See you next time.